All right, hello and welcome to another Hot Chips Year Nah, where we ask the age-old question, should you be playing? Today, it's Beyond Two Souls.
That was a weird way to put it, but yeah.
Was it?
Fair enough.
Beyond Two Souls HD.
HD,
remastered.
Yeah.
Being
Which comes with
rejigged.
Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain.
HD.
Yeah, so probably worth mentioning, we already Year Na'd Heavy Rain. I will link that video below so you can check that out if you're interested.
Mm-hmm.
And this game came bundled with.
Yeah, with
Right?
it.
Yeah, so... Reagan doesn't like my English.
Yeah, that was good. It works.
It works. So, I have not played this game, don't know anything about this game. Heavy Rain was alright to me. You can spoilers for that review.
Yeah.
Whereas Reagan has played
The original. So the
original.
PS3 non-HD version where it was in a strange order.
right,
The game flowed in a weird order. So they've added that for this one, I believe.
right, and Theo has finished the entire HD remaster.
Beautiful.
Right?
Great work.
Yeah.
So this game is similar to Heavy Rain,
Made by the same guys.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah,
cool. All
yeah.
right.
So,
all right.
so give me the quick, like, explain it to me like I'm 5 about what this game is.
Yeah. Seeing all the marketing and everything, I didn't actually catch on to what it really is, and it probably is something very different depending on how you play it, which is interesting. But this is sort of a, how would you put it? Spectral / paranormal / it's not really horror, but it kind of is story about a relationship of this girl and this spirit that's attached to her. Which I didn't figure that out through all the marketing and all the hype and everything. Okay. And it's presented.
It's called Two Souls.
It is called Two Souls, and I was wondering why. And I thought it was about Willem Dafoe and and the girl, but I can't remember, Ellen Page, and Jodie, Ellen Page, as those two actors were the primary. I thought it was their souls that were intertwined,
right.
Yeah,
but no,
enough.
very different.
Very
and the game in the old version was presented in an interesting order, and then I played it chronologically, which may be in a very different way. It's presented, I think, incredibly well in the chronological side of things. The story to me was incredibly impelling, and it was quite immersive. The design was great. It's got no kind of UI. It's very, similar to Heavy Rain in that sense. Yeah. Gameplay is quite similar, I think, in terms of you've got to do certain actions to make things happen in the game. You have to press different buttons. There are two types of mechanics. One in this game for the different types of people. One being when you're with Jodie, the girl, and you're using the buttons to do things, and one with Aiden where you're using the joysticks to do things,
Right.
which is very interesting.
So you're playing two characters.
Two characters.
Kind of
You're
much
playing
like
two
Heavy Rain,
souls.
you're flicking between.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except it's on the fly, so you'd be walking around as Jodie
In the same
and then you switch to
okay.
Aiden.
With some scenes,
the
you're
same-
forced to play
Yeah,
one of them,
yeah.
one or the other. Yeah, and that gives you a whole bunch of different options, and it lets you mess with the game, I think, really interestingly and in really fun ways. When you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be playing as Jodie, but I could jump in as Aiden and just make everyone feel cold for no particular reason. That was great. I thought it was fun at the party. I was just like, everyone's cold. Which is a bit weird.
It's a little snapshot into Theo's
it's
mind.
Theo.
It certainly is. Yeah. So for me, interestingly enough, I'm not usually into these kind of games, and I very much hate quick time events and that sort of thing. And there were a lot of instances in the game where I failed at it, and it forced me down a particular path.
Yeah.
But I'm big on the year for this.
Wow.
I really surprisingly enjoyed the crap out of this game. And really connected with the characters, and I think the actors did a fantastic job, and the world was built really well, and the relationships between the characters were really intense, especially between Jodie and Aiden. I think there was so much there, and there were a lot of funny moments where they were playing with each other. But when the game began, and there was that scene in the house when she was a little girl, a little spoilerific, yes, not really. And
It's in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, and Aiden was like kind of messing with her. Getting into that, I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, this is a fun thing with this soul and this girl and stuff. And then it was suddenly like, this is a horror game. Why am I playing this? I couldn't. I like froze and I stopped the game for a little bit. Yeah, and when you had to go into that center and there were like dead bodies everywhere and blood and you have to go through their memories. That like I was like, nope. but then I came back and got back.
I've
into
erased
the
that from my
story,
memory.
yeah.
It must have been traumatic for me. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
part of the game.
yeah.
One of the things that really broke the game for me on PS3. So I'm up front. I'm not yeah-naying the HD remake. I'm yeah-naying the original, which I'm giving a nah. It's not that it was a... It is that it was a bad game. But why was it a bad game? It was bad because the story was so disjointed from itself. You had these moments where it felt like it was ramping up to something, and then it would bounce into the past and tell you something that didn't seem to relate with what you had just played through.
Yeah.
And so it ended up just feeling really disjointed. And after that, it would go back to kind of after what it was building up to. So you kind of left with these gaps in the story, and it always felt like it was building to something that never eventuated. Now, I don't know if the chronological way of playing it fixed that. But it looks amazing. The presentation for it was mind-blowing. And the scene that always sort of stands out to me was the giant sandstorm coming over the reservation area. The big skull or something inside it. It just looked... the presentation is mind-blowing. I love the gameplay. I like the idea of switching between... And they did a really good job with making things feel... Just like with Heavy Rain. They've made like the party in Heavy Rain and the nightclub in Heavy Rain. They feel real. They feel like they could be something. And again, Beyond did the same thing. Like when you're at the soiree where she's all dressed up, it felt like you were there to do something, and it felt like you could be found out at any time, and it was good. But there was just I think the thing that really did break it was the disjointedness of the story. If this fixes that, if it makes it feel like there's a continuation that peaks, then I think that could sway me into looking into it again. Even having already played it, I think that could sway me.
It was interesting. Sorry.
So in this new version, you can play chronologically or the way the original.
Yeah, you can choose both ways, and I chose chronologically. I thought it was a new one, and I got that right.
And the reason they fixed it.
Exactly right. So they only added it because I can't think of a review that didn't mention how broken or the flow of the story was.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And it's hard to get immersed when the story doesn't know how to tell itself.
Yeah. And in that sense, chronologically, it's interesting because the pacing is still a little bit off, I think, in some places where you're kind of like, but the difference is it makes sense because you're following this girl's life with, she's got this companion attached to her and you don't know why for the longest time, and it's kind of all up in the air and confusing, and it's just interesting following their story and seeing them develop as characters. And because of chronological order, it makes sense. But I feel like it may do a bit of disjustice to the pacing because there are lots of long stretches where it's very kind of shallow, very very slow moving, very character developing, and then there's like several action pieces like cut together, and it's kind of like, oh crap, I can't take this much action.
So I can imagine the original way of the way that they dosed out the story was that the slow parts are in between action, so you get a slow part every now and then. So it sounds like they may have fixed the storytelling, but the flow may have been affected.
The flow was a little bit affected.
Well, I mean, they would have had that original idea of how the game flowed and how the story was going to be told, and basically critics told them, no, you're going to have to fix that. And it's kind of like, well, we've got the story and we've got the flow. What the hell are we? So I feel like they just chucked it in to appease people. Right. And it's whether or not that works. But the fact that you've come away really enjoying it. What do you think of the ending?
You do get several different kinds of ending. Well, you don't really.
Kinda.
You can kind of choose where you go at the ending, but it is kind of overall the same thing. I really like the ending. I remember thinking throughout the entire experience, how can they wrap this up? And I couldn't think of a good way for it to happen, but I really enjoyed how they wrapped everything up and how everything ended. Like they could have done it really suddenly, or they could have just kind of petered it off, but it left me feeling like it really closed off well. Like I wasn't questioning anything that happened, or I wasn't thinking what else could have happened. I really enjoyed it,
So for me, I remember coming away from the end of that story just going, what? And again, it might have just been because of the way that they told the story, but I came away from it thinking, I've wasted my time playing this game. And that's why it's very much a nah for the original one. Again, if they've fixed that, if they've fixed the storytelling to the point where the story flows, the hits peaks, and that I'm not talking about the action or stuff like that, but the actual progression of the story. if it wraps up in a nice way for that specific progression, that could get me back onto it.
Yeah, I think it changes the focus of the story actually, because I think the original order, where it's kind of all out of order and all disjointed and whatever, focuses on the idea and the overarching kind of world and what's happening, and, you know, the infraworld and that kind of everything affecting. Doing it chronologically very much focuses on Jodie's progression as a character and her relationship with Aiden.
And I think that would ground it a lot better.
Because of that, you know, you don't think as much about the infraworld or what's going on outside of Jodie's story, and you're of course not really confused about her relationship with any particular person. I'm sure in certain circumstances you would get really confused with non-chronological order, where you're suddenly treating someone in a different way. But in this sense, you're developing those characters as you go, and those relationships are making sense. And I don't even understand how you could do it out of order, because your decisions affect how you interact with certain people. And I'm kind of confused. I mean, I haven't played it, but if you're like, oh yeah, I'll sleep with Nathan, and that was successful, then what happens in the next point? And it's like, did they play the I don't know if it was Syria, the Middle Eastern mission before the sex scene mission? Or...
I can't remember the flow of how that wrapped up.
I didn't manage the sex.
That's the thing. The scenes are all over the place. Like, it's not just like, oh, she's in a city. She's all over the place. Like, so not only is the story bouncing back and forth in time, you're bouncing between locales and stuff, and you're just kind of I was just lost.
Because... Oh, sorry.
No, that's
Is there anything that we haven't hit on
the
that would
things
sway
that I'm
you?
kind of unclear on are, is it like Heavy Rain in that your choices matter? Or you can kill people? Like, the story has the very different...
Like, with Heavy Rain, characters can die, right? Correct. So that's not a part of this. Like,
no, it is
Jodie and Aiden can't die. You've got those
Jodie
two
and
main characters that you'll be through the end. Side characters, yes.
Side characters can die, yeah. Oh, so Heavy Rain, like main characters.
Main characters can die.
Oh, so it doesn't very much focus on a single character. So this one's very different in the fact that it focuses on a single character.
Okay, gotcha.
And that also, for the chronological part, you have to, I think, really be invested in Jodie and Aiden as characters to move through the points that are quite still, and there's not much action going on.
Like
so
making a romantic meal for her possible boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like, and that's another interesting thing about the story for me personally is not having played so many female protagonists. Jodie is kick-ass.
Yeah, she's great.
She is an amazing girl, and just watching her develop and seeing a lot of the other genders. Decisions of things and how it affects them is really, really interesting.
Really,
and actually,
the only thing that appealed to me is the fact that she was female about this game. So.
That was it.
She is a really good female character in this game. Like, I love the crap out of her and her decisions, or the kind of my decisions in the sense that shaped her.
I love this girl,
which
but
is
it's me.
interesting.
Plus, it's Ellen Page being Ellen Page. Like, she's it's really
she
good
did a
character
fantastic
for her.
job. Yeah.
So, have we swayed you? Is it a game that you think you'd be interested in playing, knowing full well that it's bundled with Heavy Rain, that you thought was a nah?
I gave
You're
Heavy
trying
Rain
to
a
convince.
yes.
Did you give it a yeah? But I think you gave it a yeah because you're kind of like, I can see why it's good, but you
I
still
think you'd
didn't
like
enjoy
this
it.
more.
That's the
I think you'd
thing.
enjoy this a lot more.
I don't think I would, Theo.
Well,
you
why
see,
not?
I don't enjoy horror storylines in any
There
way.
are only 2 horror points in the game. And
You're really trying to sell.
They throw you. No, they throw. I am trying.
Are you
to sell.
working on commission?
I'm throwing you off. I'm throwing you off balance. So there are only 2 horror elements in the game, and then the rest of it is more action.
Right.
And it's not really scary. And you, I think part of that is you get used to the idea of Aiden being there as a character and as a paranormal entity, and it makes the rest of the game. I can't play horror games.
Yeah.
You played Until Dawn.
I know.
I couldn't do that.
And
I
actually,
wouldn't be able to
I'm
do
much
that.
better with paranormal horror than I am with lots of.
And it's not even paranormal horror to a sense. It's just a paranormal world, and it interestingly explores the idea of
I don't remember Beyond Two Souls as a horror game. I remember Heavy Rain as a thriller.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put Beyond in the same genre as Heavy Rain. I think you would like it more than Heavy Rain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I definitely came into this going to give it an R. But I'm going to give it a year.
Alright.
You did a really good job of selling me on it. And I think, you did it.
The funny thing is, I just celebrated that you're a year, but I'm still giving the original a straight up no. Don't play the original.
I want to see what you think about the chronological version and give it a go. I think another reason why the horror element stood out for me is because it's chronological. That's at the beginning of the game.
Right.
Like the first there's only 2 horror sections of the game out of like 8 maybe, and the first one was it wasn't even a major horror thing. It was just it caught me by surprise.
Okay. Interesting.
And so we got. I'm not going to rate it. Actually, you know what? I think I'd be interested in seeing the remake.
So I want to see you interested in
I want to see
We
how
piqued his interest out of an original that was a nah. So that's they've done.
It was good enough for me to want to see it fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Cool.
Alright, so that has been our year now for Beyond Two Souls. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and we will see you every Tuesday and Thursday for a fresh serving.
Out.